Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're consuming this broadcast. Welcome back to Ionism. I'm your host, Ian, and I'm going to walk you through the simple, slow burn, straight talk podcast. We typically talk about cricket, geopolitics, pets, and movies. I know it's a funny combination, but hey, that's what you got. What I promise you, though, is quality of content. You'll probably get to hear interesting insights, some things to think about. As always, I come up with some interesting events happening in and around our society in these four categories that of movies, pets, geopolitics, and cricket, and then share some thoughts. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the reactions on Dhurandhar's criticism and my view on the movie. So, two part in one category. The first part will be on all the reactions and all the hoo-ha that is going out in the world about the movie. And do a little bit of a slice and dice to share why is it happening and perhaps suggest what I think is the right way to critique a movie. And then my take on the movie. I just saw it recently, so it's still fresh in the mind. None of this is scripted, so bear with me. There might be pauses, there might be, sometimes I go in tangents, so bear with me on that. Stay till the end if you can. And share with those who care for this kind of content. All right, let's jump in. First up, there is a lot of noise about people not liking Dhurandhar, right? Case to point, Miss Anupama Chopra's view, Sucharita Tyagi's view, and many other film critics who have not particularly liked the movie. They have been heavily trolled. Now, I want to bifurcate that into two parts. Is it okay for somebody to not like the movie? Absolutely. Is it okay for somebody to troll them for they not liking the movie? Thumbs down. You cannot troll someone who has a different point of view. It's almost like become a mob mentality where just because there's a popular sentiment, everybody has to like it. No, I don't need to like it. It's also true that many of these trolls, there's so much of anonymity in these trolls. Very rarely people come up in the open and say, look, this is why I disagreed with you respectfully. And there is absolute right for someone to say, I fail to understand why you dislike the movie. And that's a healthy debate. But that's not what's happening. It turns ugly very quickly, degenerating, spiraling down into personal content, personal attacks, and all that. That's not cool. That should not be the case. And then there are those who are critiquing it or did not like it for multiple reasons. It's like a narrative that is built towards one particular community that's being peddled, and there is no counter voice of reason. And so a lot of the criticism is being meted to them saying that you are anti-nationalist, and if you have so much of quote unquote hamdardi about Pakistan, might as well go live there and be there. Why are you being in the country? That too is not accurate, and that too is not right. Just because I'm critiquing something does not make me any less loyal to my country. But that's a nuanced, mature view, and my fear is a lot of the audience that is reacting this way is probably doing it without knowing. I can call it their immaturity, their lack of exposure or understanding. Just because something is wildly popular does not automatically mean that everybody has to accept it. The reactions to the reactions is what we're discussing, right? So, so what is the right way? Now, given this is what is happening, what is the right way to react to a movie like Dhurandhar? Well, you have to decide that. With what lens do you want to view the movie? Do you want to view it as pure entertainment, which does not need too much of justification of logic, rational accuracy? It's entertainment, right? So creative liberty, and so just leave it at that. So you're not over engineering it and just going it for having the caramel popcorn and enjoying a good time with your friends, family, and loved ones. And if that's a subject that interests you, that's what you get to the movies. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Then there are those who like to watch it from the finer aspects of the movie, the technicalities, the cinematography, the editing, the costume design, the sound design, the acting, the screenplay, everything. And if you found it disappointing from that perspective, that's a fair assessment. If you want to look at it from a historical accuracy and authenticity of events, is it truly representing it the right way? Then that's a separate lens. So I'm not saying one is right over the other or one is wrong over the other, but that is the first assessment, self-assessment you need to do as to when you are watching a subject which is geopolitical in nature and slash spy espionage thriller slash entertainment movie. So it's not a uni-dimensional single thread, and that sometimes is a challenge with many Indian movies, that there are multi genres mixed into one, right? So in this case, again, this is how I would view it. I would probably categorize my assessments of movies into three parts, where the filmmaker, creator, artists say, claim, suggest that this is, I'm making a documentary and it is a factual reportage or reporting representation of what has happened as an incident event in the past or whatever. In such an instance, I will go triple clicking, deep dive to see, well, is that accurate? Is that true? Did it really happen? Is it exaggerated? Is it colored with the creator's point of view, or is it a neutral point of view and leaving the audience to figure out what needs to be done? Dhurandhar is not a documentary, so that option is out. Next option is loosely based on true events, or it's or rather it says it's based on incredible true events. How much, how less is not what is mentioned. Is it 70% or 60% or 100%? Um, so what it does mean is, when I assume that when they have made that statement, it is based on incredible true events. The events shown in the movie are need to be true and accurate. What precedes, succeeds that event can have the creative liberty of conjecture or extension of thought, or wherever the narrative needs to go. So you have to delineate these two bits. So did those events happen? Absolutely, they happened. Did they show it the right way? They even infused it with real footage. I should have mentioned this earlier for those hearing this for the first time. This is a spoiler filled view review, though this is not like a who done it, so there is no, oh my god, I broke the surprise, spoil the movie for you. But treat this as a spoiler alert. If you've not seen the movie, stop now, go watch, and then come back. uh, but like I said, there is no dramatic spoiler either. Okay, so back to the point that they have infused the real incidents that have happened, tragic, unfortunate events that have happened. The choice, you can argue, did they have dramatized it, or did they need to necessarily show the actual footage? That's a creative choice. I can disagree with it, but I cannot loathe it. You know what I'm saying? It's a creative choice. I'm at least I am 50-50 on that. For me, in my mind, the jury is out there. Are there instances where real events that have happened or historical events that have happened have been, to continue the flow of the narrative, maintain the tone, and it has equally the same impact? However, if you infuse the real footage, then it's kind of a break in the narrative. You suddenly like, oh, so it probably is done to heighten the impact. It also probably has a double-edged, not a double-edged, a double intended impact is what I'm trying to say, is where to probably even remind, sensitize a lot of people in India. As many of you know, like 60% of the country is below the age of 30, almost 20-25% is below the age of 20, I think. And so there is a generation that has been born after these events. And so they're probably not too aware. on why is this narrative between India and Pakistan the way it is today, and why have we fought so many wars in the past and a skirmish of late? What has been the challenge? And so sometimes putting reference to context is not a bad thing, but then isn't that the job of a documentary to bring up underlying issues? The job of a entertainment movie is to, should it be preachy is the question. Again, it's a creative choice that the director, Mr. Aditya Dar, chose to have. I cannot contest his decision to do it, but as a cinephile, I think the real footage was perhaps breaking the narrative a little bit. Did it create the heightened impact? To a degree, yes. You could factor into the fact that we are on the other side of the 40s. And so, well, we know what we know. Probably it has had a different impact to those who are in their late 20s. You don't know, right? So, mind you, India, you cannot make one movie that pleases everybody, right? The demography is so diverse. There is a age diversity, there is a cultural diversity, there's a linguistic diversity, there is a basic understanding of history diversity. Even there is so much of complexity. So there will never ever be a product that you make that is applicable to everyone. And sometimes Bollywood in particular tries to do that by casting the net wide, where I'll have a little bit of romance, a drama, a song, a dance, a this, a that. And so that whatever appeals to whoever ensures greater footfalls into the theater, and therefore I make more money of the investment that I've put in. Almost borderlines on borderlines. It's quite evident that it is more of paisa vasool, return of investment, more than the artistic narrative that you're trying to say. So I think the large understanding is what use is the, and I'm assuming here, I'm not from the film industry, but that if the film doesn't make money, what's the point of such art? Whereas one would want to delineate these two things. Art, artistry, creative pursuits should be independent of the money they make. There are enough instances in history where a terrible movie has gone on to become a blockbuster hit. When I say terrible in terms of quality, in terms of cinematography, in terms of technicalities, in terms of the basic storytelling narrative. It's a poor quality cinema. Now you can debate about it, that if it was such poor quality cinema, how come 400 million people watched it and made it a 500 crore movie or 1,000 crore movie or what have you? So there is always this divided narrative, and again it goes back to my point: how are you watching the movie? Large part of the Indian audience largely is like, don't over engineer this stuff. I want to go to the theater, enjoy the AC. I like the loud banging music. There should be slow motion actions, and I'm going to feel great. So, can we or I be judgmental about that audience? That why aren't you watching little more authentic, high quality stuff? Then you say, hey, then go watch Hollywood. Don't they have trash? They have trash as well, but they also have very good products. Then the question will be, are you trying to copy them? Then this is Indian, we are Indian, we don't want to be Hollywood. Well, if you don't want to be Hollywood, stop calling yourselves Bollywood in the first place. So you see how these things are all entwined. So let's come back, right? Come back to the way you need to view. So from a technicality standpoint, from a content delivery standpoint, when you're saying that I'm trying to show true events, then those events, whether you chose to show it live footage or cinematically, I would have preferred it cinematically so that the continuity flow is mentioned. And everything need not be spoon fed. Exposition is a problem. Yes, you could show the impact, the devastation of, say, the impact on the psyche of the people, the mood of the nation post, say, the 26/11 or post Parliament attack or post Kandahar. It's a lot of hard work. And sometimes I think exposition is lazy filmmaking, but I don't want to talk too much. Let me narrate what is happening so that a larger audience understands it. So it kind of, you're assuming that the audience is dumb or less intelligent, which probably is not the case, or never was the case. It's the filmmakers often thought that I should dumb it down, I should stupefy it, stupidify it, so that larger audience gets it. So I'm not too convinced on that argument. So you can have a subtle effect, you can show subtlety, and there have been enough instances where subtlety has been appreciated. In fact, case to point being Mr. Akshay Khanna's mannerisms and roles is know that he has million powerful dialogues, punchy, crunchy. They have a few cracker dialogues in there, but mostly it's expression, right? And so that means the audience is feeling the emotion, that it's coming through, it's getting through, which is good acting, right? Which is good acting. Historical accuracy, cinematically shown, would have been a better option, but Mr. Dhar chose to show it graphically. So the set of people who are critiquing it for the authenticity of the story based in Pakistan. Again, the lens I ask is, was it 60% accurate or 50% accurate or 20% accurate is basis the lens that you're using to view it. It is a fictionalized story based on few true events, and one should leave it at that. I can. It's difficult for us Indians to view it from a Pakistani perspective. Almost everything around it, about it, is against your society, against where you live, grown up, or whatever. The best way to realize is that if Pakistan made a similar movie about India or whatever they believe, we will obviously retaliate and say that's all nonsense. It's all propaganda. That's not true. That's not accurate. We would say the same thing. I'd be highly surprised if we said, "Oh no, that was a very accurate representation." This happened with even Mr. Sanjay Leela Bhansali's Hira Mandi. There was huge furor about, "Oh no, this is not how Hira Mandi was," and so I think these are pointless criticisms. These are pointless arguments. A filmmaker, a creator has decided to showcase a story in the way they felt was the most appropriate. You may like the way it has been shown or not like it, that is absolutely fine. But you have to you have to pick the right lens to critique it. You can't be critiquing a masala entertainer with the lens of a documentary filmmaker. Right? That is where the challenge is. I think that's what put off a lot of people with Miss Chopra's or Miss Tyagi's or some of the other film critics' verbiage, the choice of words. And what is there testosterone filled masculinity on the screen? Yes, there is. But is that only the story? No, there is more to the story. And she's absolutely right in having her point of view, and it might not have appealed to her at that point in time. So there's no propaganda in that, is what I'm trying to delineate. What people can like and cannot like. Why is it so difficult to comprehend? We as a society are guilty of being very pro-majoritarian, in the sense, if we if there are 100 people uh, in a room and 80 people like something or believe something and 20 people dislike that same thing, there is no reason to be um, ugly towards them. There's no reason to be abusive towards them. Yes, they have a right to not like it, as have you a right to like it. You need not be apologetic about loving Dhurandhar. Likewise, you need not loathe the person who dislikes the movie. So this differentiation is where everything is muddled up. And so hopefully you guys got a sense of what I'm trying to say in terms of view it, critique it for the right reason with the right lens. Okay. So in the next segment, I'm going to talk about the movie itself, what I thought was good, what could have been better, and so on and so forth. All right, let's jump into the next part. About the movie itself. Let's talk the characters, the character definitions. Have they been fleshed out well? Answer is yes. I'll just go like a quick Q&A on this. Does Ranveer Singh look convincing, authentic? Believability is big on me on similar kind of movies. So does he look a believable character? I would probably go a high. Again, it's difficult to put a number. I'd probably go like a 8 on 10. 10 on 10 being a De Niro-esque that kinds. But so this would be like yeah, 7 or 8 on 10. It looks believable, looks that he's into the role. What could have been better? The brooding, intense kind, that consistency has to carry through the movie. Somewhere I thought it fluctuated a little bit, especially with the introduction of Miss Sara Arjun's character. One can argue that it was perhaps done by design, that he was shown to be 30, 32 years old, while the lady was 18 or 19. So he needed to be a bit childish or childlike. So that's why there could have been a fluctuation in the character, possible. However, I would tend to believe that someone with such a deep mission, with such intensity, which almost like it's like a do or die mission, or most likely die mission, who you are likely to be more brooding, perhaps gloomy, understated, less dialogues, that kind of thing. So somewhere I thought that held tight in the first half, and towards the second half of the movie, post intermission, so that I saw multiple instances of fluctuations in that character journey. Uh, Likewise, for Mr. Akshay Khanna's character, yes, you are a menacing character. Somewhere the contradiction, the human side of a mean character, was again done very well in the first half. I thought second half was inconsistent, especially towards the situation when they were leading up to the 26/11 attack sequence. And so it seemed almost like Mr. Dhar came to a point like, I've brought the intensity and consistency up to this point. Now I'm heading towards a climax. How do I ensure I don't overdo it, but have adequate intensity intact? So uh, easier said than done. Like I'm finding it hard to articulate. So I'm sure when somebody's trying to make it in person live, it would have been 300 times more difficult. Give you that, but the end product, sometimes I thought it lacked the edges were showing towards the second half. The last chapter in the movie, last 40 minutes, was clearly, almost seemed to me it was shot by somebody else. It did not have the texture, the feel, the continuity. It almost seemed like a 70s caricaturish action sequences, when they break the queue, takes the bike and takes Mr. Akshay Khanna's character inside the woods. That sequence was very caricaturish. It did not feel authentic or intense, or this is something like you see the intensity in Foda. If you have not seen the series, you must see that. It's on Apple, I think. They continue the intensity, the simmeringness of it all seemed absolutely absent in chapter 10, or whatever the last chapter was. And like I said, it is difficult to maintain what's the right word? The serenity of the product, the creation, the smoothness of the product when you've got it almost spot on. But towards the end, it becomes like, now how do I make it like leave a punch, leave an impact? Maybe you did not need to leave a punch and impact, because you had already done a great job, and this is a sequence of events, and it could have shown more subtly, little more. You want to show brutality, cut down the music. Sometimes the music was a bit distracting. As good as the music and soundtrack and the background score arrangements were, towards the end, it became a little jarring, often distracting. The characters of Mr. Sanjay Dutt, I thought, again had inconsistencies where the Marathi accent came around. Now, he's supposed to be Chaudhry Aslam in Karachi. There has to be that Thet Punjabi slant to it. I think they missed, when you're looking at detailing in heightened artistry, I think they missed that bit. I could get the Mumbaiya Hindi creeping in, the Bhagna Sale or something on that thing that stood out, which was very typical Mumbaiya. So yeah, I could argue he was in Karachi. He could have had a Mumbai influence, but hey. Um, then the character of Mr. Arjun Rampal, I think I was quite impressed with the facial expressions, or the restriction of the facial expression. Just because you are menacing, throw your arms around. Um, in I thought that the slight shake of the head, that was top class. I mean, good stuff done there. Good. screenplay, um, and overall good impact. The role leaves you an impact. This guy is not good without being over the top. Mr. Rakesh Bedi's character, again, very well portrayed, the sleazy politician. Again, the shades of inconsistencies creep in where the theatrics become more than the meanness, the manipulativeness, all because the expressions were a little heightened, which was not the case in the initial part of his character arc. So uh, making a movie over a long period of time often have this, and they have largely done a good job. Whoever was doing the continuity bit, they've done largely a good job, barring some small such glitches, right? If you saw Ranveer skin, uh, even during post-combat sequences and all, it's all flawless here, right? There is no sky, there's no nothing. There's just wherever you are hit, you're hit. So the fact that you're struggling in the streets of Karachi, it has its impact. You don't look as fresh and clean. There is that degree of authenticity was perhaps missing in most of the characters. Um, Again, this is not a showstopper. Like, this is a critique, not a criticism. It didn't like throw me off that, oh my God, he didn't have dirt on his face, so this is a terrible movie. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm saying you have raised the bar of authenticity, of the setup, the set design, the costume design, everything. You've raised the bar. You've put a lot of attention to detail, including the signboards at the back, the radio sets, the graffiti and everything. And so one wants to see that consistency right throughout. So whoever was doing the continuity bit probably needs to revisit the second part a little bit to see, is the tone of the movie shifting towards the climax. I thought it did. And that was my only gripe with the movie. I love the characters of Mr. Shekhana and who else am I? I'm missing somebody. And Sara Arjun, of course. Not, that trying to not go again over the top, where trying to overdo the character. I think that credit you have to give to Mr. Aditya there, right? He didn't allow keep the characters reined in despite being exuberant. So did a good job with the facial expressions. The chemistry was there between Mr. Ranveer Singh's character and Ms. Sara Arjun's character. You could see the chemistry coming through the screen. Um, what I missed, though, is while he was doing it with an intention to leverage her, when and how he fell in love, probably a sequence or two, what was the compelling reason? What was the void she filled, that despite knowing that he was perhaps manipulating her for advantage to be taken later on, what was the reason he could not defy that and yet uh, fell in love? Um, Another sequence where the child, uh, uh, Rahman Daket's child, Shaksa Khanna's character's child in the movie, is poisoned. And, you know, you want to show loyalty and you want to find out. You are there on a mission. You go around town bashing, hitting. If that was the intent to remove more people, you're there to dismantle a network. So somewhere, if you had shown that I, as a as part of the trusted set of confidants in the Rahman Daket's gangland, I could not have taken all of them all at once. So when I saw an opportunity, that there was an opportunity where the team was dispersed, I could individually take them apart, yet showing that I'm part. I did this to find out the rat in the system. That perhaps could have better justified the outrage, the action that he did, um, to chop off the finger and all those kind of thing, that Papu Yadav story and all. So again, smaller parts, but those were some things that stood out to me. Uh, The characters, the other support staff and other characters, and if I'm missing out somebody, let me know, because I'm doing this without any script. If I'm missing out, apologies. If it comes back, I will talk about it. So soundtrack, good job done. Uh, the item numbers, bad job done. You don't really need, I know you paused in between and the narrative moved forward, but somewhere you tone down, let it be, let the music be at the background. Music is playing, but it's in the background, and large part of the narrative moves forward. So I thought 3 hour 34 minutes could have been easily 2 hours 50 minutes, and it would still be as impactful. There was a bit of indulgence there for whatever reason, so you need not have that. That Gerawa song could have been in the background and fades into the black, and that's it. And of course, people have the soundtrack, so they could have downloaded and heard it. You needn't have done a whole sequence on that. The bike sequence and all that, not required really. That again, at the time it was also, it kind of suddenly took me off the intensity. When I'm in an intense movie, I want to remain intense, right? It took me off the intensity and then again pulled me back in. So I thought that was perhaps not needed at the time when it came. Um, and as far as Mr. Madhavan, that's the character I was missing out. Boy, did he do a good job. Oh my God. I think one of the best advices that many film uh, coaches give to the actors is the best way to act is not act, and just be normal. And that gives you the authenticity, the reality that I would have reacted, responded in the same way. What I loved about Mr. Madhavan's character was the expression in the eyes. He did a fabulous job of disappointment, of rage, of hurt in multiple ways. I thought his character needed a little more extension than just one behind the scenes guy. I mean, technically he was behind the scenes guy, so there's not much you could have brought him into forefront. But I thought there was scope to do more there. As far as the other side characters, that of the other support staff, I forget the gentleman's name, who played Rahman Daket's brother, or the other guy with Ranveer. Um, I was just hoping, like in Godfather, you have Sonny's character, that while Al Pacino's character was, the calm, Sonny was the exact opposite, belligerent, impulsive. I was hoping that is not the case, because that's tried, tested, done, dusted too many times in films. Fortunately, that was not done. He never felt jealous with the advent of Ranveer's character into the scheme of things, into the closest trust circuit, and that was a refreshing change. I like that bit a lot, and he essayed that thing quite well. That I accept you, and authentically, and there need not be jealousy, because it also portrayed that he was secure within himself, and which does not make him insecure about a new entrant into the close circle of trust with Rahman, in Rahman's family, or uh, close confidant circle. Uh, Other support staff in the group and the gang, they were all believable. I felt that they did a good job of not reducing themselves to mere henchmen who also did something. The climax, when the bullet is hit on his head, Donga's head, he's still walking, because in some of the previous sequences you have shown that a head is blown off. Inconsistency right there. You got a hit on the head, you got hit on the shoulder. Yeah, I could have shown he took a few more bullets and kept running. Great. Hit on the head, story ends there. It just went on 20 minutes or 10 minutes too long. Not required. It did. That's why I said the consistency mattered that time, and it did not happen. So those were some of the things that got my attention. Otherwise, the way it has been shot, the wide shots, the close shots, I think all done well. I think the contact lenses fit quite well with Ranveer's persona, and the bulk, the dressing, the costume design was very nice. The color palettes was world class, really. I could have just compressed it a little more, made it a little more tighter. Even as a filmmaker, you evolve, right? I think Dhar is also going through his blossoming journey. It sounds a little corny, but I'm sure by his next film, or not just the next Dhurandhar Part 2, I'm saying by the next film he does in 1 year or 2 years' time, there will be that much more maturity that will show in the work, right? So, all successful directors, their early work towards their middle work, towards their later year works, it's you see a step up, the maturity, the finesse, the smoothing of the edges comes together. So I'm hoping the same for Mr. Dhar. I think good, very good intro into the body of work that you want to leave behind is already, got good check marks. Probably I would want the massy content go down a little bit and the authentic, simmering, intense content go a little up, and that, but that's just me as a personal thing. That's all the thoughts I had for Dhurandhar. I hope if you've watched it and you now go rewatch it with whatever I've said, then do leave a comment whether you agree, disagree, if there's a smarter point that we have missed out. And if any of the makers of Dhurandhar watch this, good job done, folks. I mean, it's hard-earned praise. And it's not just fluff stuff, right? It is, I genuinely, honestly mean it, that this is a good product that you've made. Be very proud of the work that you've done. And all the critiquing that is happening is only because you've raised the bar. So next time when we see you in the next rendition of Dhurandhar, which is in March, hopefully it'll be even higher artistry. Now you have so much of, now you have the advantage of the feedback of many more informed people than I am. So look forward to that. That's all the time. Have a good day, week, time ahead until we meet the next time. My name is Ayan and you are watching Ayanisms.